If Marvel heroes were born in Japan and lived there after World War II, their identities, backstories, and actions would be heavily influenced by the social, political, and cultural environment of post-war Japan. Here's how key Marvel heroes might be reimagined in this context. Captain Japan. Background as a Japanese soldier. Takeshi Sato could have been a soldier in the Imperial Japanese Army during medieval. After the war, he becomes disillusioned with the devastation and loss Japan experienced. A secret post-war government project in Japan, similar to the American Super Soldier program, transforms him into a symbol of national resilience and recovery. Captain Japan. Symbol of hope. As a reimagined Captain Japan, Takeshi's shield would bear the rising sun symbol, representing Japan's rebirth and dedication to peace after the war. His story could be one of personal redemption, fighting to protect the country from foreign influence, corruption, and the rebuilding of war-torn cities. Post-war leadership. Instead of fighting external enemies, Captain Japan would focus on defending Japan's integrity during the U.S. occupation, resisting organized crime, and helping the country heal and rebuild. Iron Man. Japanese industrial magnate Ryoichi Tanaka, the son of a powerful industrialist, inherits his family's business empire in the post-war economic boom. Instead of building weapons for the war effort, he focuses on the development of cutting-edge technology for Japan's reconstruction. Powered by Japan's engineering, Tanaka creates his Iron Man suit based on Japan's own technological advancements in robotics, reflecting the rise of Japan's post-war industrial growth. His suit would blend traditional Japanese elements, samurai armor, for example, with futuristic technology, making him a key figure in Japan's modernization. Fighting economic corruption. As Iron Man, Ryoichi battles corrupt industrialists, politicians, and foreign interests trying to exploit Japan's vulnerability during its post-war reconstruction. Thor as Raijin. Thor reimagined as a Japanese god of thunder. Instead of being the Norse god of thunder, Thor could be reimagined as Raijin, the Japanese god of thunder, lightning, and storms. In this version, Thor is born in Japan as the reincarnation of this ancient kami. Raijin was traditionally feared and revered, much like the Norse Thor, so Thor's powers could still include control over storms, lightning, and immense strength. Connection to Shinto beliefs. Thor's identity would be tied to Shinto practices where gods, kami, play an essential role in everyday life. His Mjolnir could be a sacred artifact, blessed by Japan's highest priests and imbued with divine power. Instead of being a weapon forged by dwarves, Mjolnir might have been crafted by ancient kami to keep the balance of nature. Mjolnir as a sacred artifact, a relic of ancient Japan. Mjolnir could be a holy relic tied to Japanese mythology. It could resemble a large hammer or mallet, symbolic of traditional Japanese craftsmanship, and hold a revered place within a Shinto shrine before Thor claims it. Only those with pure hearts and respect for the gods, symbolized by Kannushi, Shinto priests, can wield it. Symbol of divine judgment. In post-war Japan, Mjolnir might serve as a symbol of justice and balance, allowing Thor to use its power only in times of great need. Its role would be less about warfare and more about restoring order and ensuring that peace prevails during Japan's turbulent rebuilding. Spider-Man. Orphan of war, Hiroshi. Nakamura is a young boy who lost his parents in the war. Growing up in Tokyo, he is raised by his uncle and aunt, who struggled to survive during the post-war recovery. Instead of being bitten by a radioactive spider, Hiroshi gains his powers from a mysterious mutation linked to Japan's industrial pollution, representing the darker side of Japan's rapid industrialization. A hero in post-war Tokyo, Hiroshi uses his powers to protect the people of Tokyo from both street-level crime, like the rise of the Yakuza, and political corruption. His story would be a reflection of the struggles many Japanese youth faced in the aftermath of the war, balancing personal responsibility with survival, balancing tradition and modernity. As a teenager, Hiroshi would struggle to maintain a balance between respecting Japan's traditional values and embracing the rapid modernization occurring all around him, making his journey very different from Peter Parker's. Wolverine. Former Japanese soldier Kenjiro Yamada could be a veteran of the Imperial Japanese Army who fought in brutal battles during the war. After the war, he becomes a wandering Ronin, detached from society and haunted by the violence he witnessed. His regenerative abilities and adamantium claws might be the result of secret military experiments conducted by the Japanese government during the war. Wandering Ronin. As a modern-day Ronin, Wolverine would roam the countryside of post-war Japan, searching for peace and redemption. His story would heavily draw on traditional Japanese themes of honor, atonement, and the conflict between violence and inner peace. He might become a protector of rural villages, dealing with the fallout of post-war crime or warlord-like figures. Tied to Japanese mythology, His immortality and healing factor could be tied to ancient Japanese myths, perhaps connecting him to kami spirits or traditional supernatural elements in Japanese folklore. Black Widow. A former spy for the Japanese military, Yuki Sato could have been a secret operative during World War II, trained in martial arts, infiltration, and espionage by the imperial government. After the war, she's recruited by the new Japanese government to deal with the internal threats posed by corruption, rogue military elements, and foreign spies. Master of stealth and espionage. As Japan rebuilds, Yuki uses her training and agility to uncover and neutralize threats to Japan's stability, often battling remnants of Japan's old militaristic regime or foreign forces trying to take advantage of the post-war chaos. A femme fatale in post-war politics. Her character would be deeply intertwined with the political intrigue of post-war Japan, with storylines focused on Cold War tensions and the influence of foreign powers, like the US and Soviet Union, in Japan's recovery. Doctor Strange, heir to ancient Japanese mysticism. Instead of being a Western doctor, Shinichi Fujiwara is a highly skilled Buddhist monk or Shinto priest who, after the war, discovers ancient Japanese mystical secrets in a hidden shrine. His training in spiritualism and magic would be connected to traditional Japanese beliefs, and he becomes the protector of Japan from supernatural threats unleashed by the war's chaos. Mystic defender of Japan. As Japan modernizes rapidly, Fujiwara must defend the country from ancient spiritual forces awakened by the trauma of the war. His journey would mix themes of modern science clashing with traditional spirituality as he struggles to maintain balance between these two worlds. Japanese mythology. His spells and abilities would draw from Japanese folklore and mythology, summoning protective kami, using talismans, and battling yokai or vengeful spirits, onryo, that threaten Japan's reconstruction. X-Men. Mutants as outcasts in a homogeneous society. Mutants in post-war Japan could represent the marginalized or disenfranchised, struggling to find their place in a rapidly changing society. After the devastation of World War II, Japan becomes wary of outsiders and those who are different, with mutants representing those who don't fit into Japan's efforts to homogenize and rebuild. Professor X as a teacher of peace. Reimagined as a Japanese figure, Professor X might lead a school for young mutants affected by the war, teaching them how to harness their powers and integrate into society. His struggle would be to show the people of Japan that mutants are not a threat, but a potential force for good in helping rebuild the country. Magneto as a post-war revolutionary. Magneto, reimagined as a Japanese figure, might represent the remnants of Japan's militaristic past, seeking to use mutant powers to assert dominance and restore Japan to its former glory. His conflict with Professor X would embody the tension between embracing peace and progress versus a return to militarism and aggression. Villains and conflicts. The Yakuza and post-war criminal elements, the rise of organized crime and post-war Japan, particularly the Yakuza, would be a common foe for many heroes. Spider-Man and Wolverine, in particular, might find themselves battling these powerful criminal syndicates as they take advantage of Japan's vulnerabilities. Former military leaders. Captain Japan or Black Widow could face remnants of the Japanese military or ultra-nationalist groups who seek to regain power by overthrowing the government or destabilizing the nation. Foreign powers. Cold War tensions would bring in threats from Soviet and American spies, with characters like Black Widow and Iron Man clashing with covert foreign operatives seeking to manipulate Japan for their own interests. Themes of reconstruction, redemption, and identity. Rebuilding Japan's identity. These heroes would not only fight against physical threats, but also represent Japan's internal struggle to redefine itself in the post-war world. Themes of redemption, rebuilding, and the tension between modernity and tradition would dominate their storylines.